me see here. Oh, check. We back. Okay. Following you with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Great. There's another guy in the party. I think I'm just going to mute him. What's up, guys? We are back with another episode. We actually got a special episode for tonight. You know, the Red Zone Fantasy Report. And today we're going to do a special episode, our playoff preview for the Fantasy League. As always, get an introduction from our host, Fallen. What's up? Say what's up to the people.
Hey, what's up, guys? We're back again. Now we're in the fantasy playoffs, so we appreciate everybody who stayed with us all year long, all season long. And now we're down to 8. Started at 12, down to 8. You guys are going to see the matchups coming up real soon, so we appreciate you sticking around.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Other guy in the party, you want to say something?
The reigning NFC West champion, already self-proclaimed.
You talking about the Rams?
No.
Okay.
We're talking about this season. Rams are self-proclaimed first overall pick this season. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to talk about the current NFC West champs because you know Seahawks are going to fall apart. So we're going to go with the 49ers. I talked to Mally Rojo, and it's been good for the NFC West to win some of these games. You know, put a little bit of respect in the NFC West.
I agree with that.
So that's the positive. I just want him to lose a couple of games so it makes my life a little easier. But you know who I am is Nefarious. Fantasy Red Zone Report, the best show out there. Besides, I'm not even going to mention it.
Mm-hmm. Fool's Gold?
What? No.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it, man. I got the standings up on the screen for the people. Neff, I know you've broken it down, I think, 3 times now about the playoffs, but, you know, with this being the special playoff preview show, kind of break it down for the people, man. Let them know what they can expect.
So, we're in playoffs now after week 12. It was supposed to be a 13-week season, but based on how playoffs are going to go and making sure we get enough people in and give enough people a chance to win the championship, we're going to go with an 8-team playoff.
I like it.
Once we go into the playoffs, the divisions are totally mute. That was only to get 2 division winners and give them content points. That doesn't matter. We're going by full standings. Whoever is in first is going to play 8th, and so on and so forth. So with the playoffs, the idea is week 13. It's going to be 8 teams, 4 matchups, and then the higher seed of each matchup plays the lower seed next round. And week 14, the next round, it'll be a single game as well, but it'll be 4 teams left, 2 matchups, and then we'll go on to the championship in week 15. So the championship is actually going to be week 15 and week 16.
Yeah.
So week 15, you're going to go into it. You're going to put out your best lineup for that week, and then we're going to keep track of the points from that week in your matchup. And then we're going to carry that over to next week's matchup. You don't have to keep the same lineup. You can if you want. You could change a few players. But basically what's going to happen is the combined score of week 15 and week 16 is going to be the championship score. So
Gotcha.
Team A scores 100 in week 15, scores 115 in week 16. That means they got 215 points. Team 2 scores 150 and then scores 50. He's got 200. Team A is going to win based on the overall amount of points that they had between the 2 weeks.
I'm not going to lie. I think that makes it really interesting. That the word immersive definitely is where I'm going to go with this one, because, like, you're talking about really having to look at matchups in those, you know, week 15, 16, and, you know, knowing that you got 2 games to not draft for, but to arrange your lineups for, that not a bad stress, but it does add some weight to it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. It's definitely different from your normal fantasy situation where you just play 1 week and you could be the champion just based on 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, it's going to add 2 weeks, so it creates no doubt on who the real champion is.
I like it. Well, let's talk about standings and where we're sitting now, and where things could go. Let's get into that.
Yeah, let's jump right into the standings and how everything ended up finishing. I don't know if you got it up on your screen currently right now. I don't have your screen.
Yeah, I got it.
So the 2 division winners is actually Fallen and myself. As you can see, Mally Rojo and Nefarious both have the same record, 9-3. But if you scroll all the way to the right, the tiebreaker is the total points that you had throughout the entire fantasy. So I had 1,747.6. He had 1,647.74. So I beat him by about 100. So that's why I ended up winning that division. And then you take a look at the other one. You got Natural and Fallen, who both ended up in 7-5. But you take a look. Fallen outscored him by almost 200 points, so actually over 200 points. So that's why Fallen is the winner in that division.
Makes sense.
That's basically how it goes. Is first it's the winning percentage. If the winning percentage is tied, then it goes into the amount of points that you scored throughout the whole season. So congrats to myself, congrats to Fallen. That's 5 content points for us, just for paying attention to our lineups. Because honestly, if Natural didn't miss a couple of weeks and not pay attention a few times, and he might have ended up as the division winner in that division. Who knows? But that just shows that every week counts.
Just to further prove I'm better than you, I'm looking at this shouldn't it be conference, like AFC conference versus NFC conference? Just other than that, you're good.
Yeah, I mean,
it's okay. Everybody can't be
good.
Goose.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it does.
Everybody can't be. No, it matters. I get what you're saying. I'm sorry, Goose.
I know you're sorry. It's okay. It's not your fault. But now, I do like this. I really do, man. Like I said, obviously I came in late. Thanks, Noble, for the spot. But it's I really like the way this is gonna set up. Let's and then we kind of talked about some big names that and one of them has been controversial in the chat for the past 36 hours or so. But our fantasy MVPs, Fallen, did you want to talk to our listeners about that as we march into the playoffs?
So we broke it down into position like we do for the stardom situms, and then we ended up doing the top 2 for each one. So I can go through them all, or if you guys want to take any of them, just stop me, but I'll just go through them all. So for our quarterbacks, our top 2 were Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson, just like he was the MVP in real life, he did it on the ground and through the air. So Bacon's done a really good job turning his Ravens team around compared to last season. And he's doing it just with Lamar Jackson on both fronts. So, 320 points. That's by far the most for a quarterback. And what I thought was interesting, that it's pretty on par with regular fantasy. A lot of the top picks, the first 10 or whatever, in like a real fantasy draft, typically will get over 300. And I believe Jackson was one of the top picks for Natural. So, and then Josh Allen, he actually is an up and comer because of the new Bills owner. I think he's done pretty well with that Bills team.
He kind of put Josh them Allen on the map in a short amount of time.
Yeah, for sure. And then you picked up Josh Allen, didn't you? So
it didn't really help much because he kind of got screwed to begin with.
Yeah. So but either way, it was interesting to see. I think Josh Allen also had a couple. I believe it was 5 touchdowns on the ground. So that also helps with the quarterbacks. The only other quarterback was Trey Lance, who had 9 touchdowns on the ground, but he didn't have as many passing yards and as many passing touchdowns as Josh Allen. So both those 2 quarterbacks, pretty good quarterbacks to have. Both guys are doing well in PML, so translates well to fantasy.
Now, I got a question that some of our listeners might have, kind of directed more at you, Neff. Just when he said it, made me think about it. When we go into the second season, is it a completely new draft, or how is that going to work? Season 2.
So what I want to do is we're going to do a keeper league. I don't know if anybody knows what a keeper league is, but for those of you that don't know, a keeper league is you get to look through your team. Maybe we'll have one, maybe two max guys where you could say, I want to keep him and I want to keep him for the next season. Obviously, it won't be this. If we're going to do two, it's not going to be the same position, and we're going to have certain aspects that we have to work around. But I think we're going to do one just for season 1. And everybody's going to have one guy that they could keep, and then everybody else is going to go back into the draft, and we're going to redraft.
I like it. Almost like a free agents and a contract extension type deal.
Yeah, exactly.
And Neff, I don't know if you're thinking kind of the same, but I know like in real life fantasy keeper league, so say, for example, say Natural says, hey, I want to keep Lamar Jackson. Well, then at that point, Natural would forfeit his first round pick. Whatever round you pick them, you forfeit that pick for the next season.
I
know that's how we do it. Yeah, that's how, because I'm in a keeper league as well, so that's how we do it for anybody who wants to keep a player. And then the same, if somebody picked up a free agent and they didn't draft them, then they give up whatever, I think we have it set at a 7th round pick. So you just give up your 7th round pick, or, for free agents, we can kind of play with that and decide, hey, what round do we want to set them all at?
So me getting Josh Allen as a free agent, that's almost like a Tom Brady 6th round pick type deal, huh?
Yes, that's exactly right. So whatever we decide to set at, hey, all free agents who were not picked in the draft, you just have to give up your 7th round pick, and then you put them in there. So for you, Josh Allen's going to be a top quarterback. So if you say, hey, I want to keep Josh Allen, then whatever pick we decide. Normally it's like a mid-round pick, so it stays fair. Then you would just give that one up and you put Josh Allen in that slot.
That's pretty sweet. I like it, guys. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
gonna be the idea. I like Fallen said, whatever round, you could keep your 1st round pick, but then you don't have a 1st round pick, so you just pick your poison pretty much.
I like it. I think that'll be interesting as we as the playoffs come, and let's talk about halfbacks. So some of the MVP halfbacks we got, guys.
Yeah, so for halfbacks, we have 2 different guys. Javian Hawkins, which is on my team.
A rookie.
So he's a rookie. It's no surprise that my offense is tailored around him and running the ball. I think he's in contention for league MVP right now. So he leads the league in touchdowns, and he's 5th most for rushing yards. And then a guy who, if you look at it, in Alvin Kamara, he doesn't have as many rushing yards or even as many rushing touchdowns, but he does lead the league in catches for running backs with 71. So that's kind of why he is number 2. And Javian Hawkins has 369 points, with Kamara coming just under with 357. So out of all our MVPs, those 2 have the most points. And it's just like you see in real life fantasy, most of the time halfbacks do get selected as the top tier picks because they have that dual threat when scoring with catching the ball, especially in our league where it's a full point PPR league. So it doesn't surprise me why. And Hawkins, I definitely use him in the passing game as well. So
and I when I look to draft, I draft running back heavy. That's usually my strategy. Is I know the value of running backs, and that's usually my first couple of picks are gonna be 2 solid running backs that I know are gonna get touches.
Makes sense to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're seeing here a rookie and an established vet as your leader, so that's pretty awesome. Nice to see Alvin Kamara being used, but we won't get heavy into that. Wide receivers MVP, boy, this might be the most controversy in PML this cycle thus far. Jarvis Landry
Yes.
with a 60 points over McLaurin there. McLaurin, PML 19, I wasn't here, but there was a whole rule created for him. But let's talk about those two guys, huh?
Yes. So of course, there was a whole stir up about Jarvis Landry yesterday in the chat, and just to put some emphasis on that, Jarvis Landry is leading the league in touchdowns with 25. The next closest guy in touchdowns is Stephon Diggs and Terry McLaurin. They're both tied with 14. So, the word force feeding is kind of gone around, but Landry is by far the top fantasy wide receiver this year. So, and I think the Browns have definitely targeted him a lot. It kind of shows as well. But following that, McLaurin, he's a pretty good wide receiver. Has some good speed to him. He doesn't have as many catches as the other ones, but he's up there in yardage and as well as touchdowns, which have kind of helped. And it was interesting to note that when we were looking at just all the yards that both wide receivers have, not many had any rushing yards, or not many had any rushing touchdowns. I think that a lot of guys were combined to only have one rushing touchdown, which was a little surprising to me.
You expected to see more use probably out the jet sweep, I'm guessing. That's.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was like. Yeah, what I thought I would see, more rushing touchdowns because of the jet sweep. But I guess a lot of guys run the ones where they count as passes instead of rushes.
The jet pass instead of the sweep.
Yeah. So Landry has a humongous lead with 329 points compared to McLaurin's 262. But I forget what round. And Landry wasn't even picked up in any round.
No, he was a free agent.
Papagreeny got him. Yeah, Papagreeny got him as a free agent. So, but that Browns team is a kind of an enigma. I think season 1, they focused on running the ball with Nick Chubb. Yeah. Now it's kind of the opposite this season. So, Landry may not be as heavily targeted next season. So, is it going to be worth it to keep that pick? We'll have to see going forward. So definitely controversial, but those are our fantasy wide receiver MVPs.
Yeah, it's the Jarvis Landry thing is more than controversial. It's kind of a lack of care, a lack of I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just me personally. I don't like it, but it happens. It's happened before, and it's not going to be the last time it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's as far as fantasy goes, like when you can get a guy like that as a free agent, it's a godsend, right? But as far as the league, that's a different story. But as far as fantasy goes, that's I tell you this, I think with that performance, it could make it could determine how people draft in season 2. Do you try to look for potential guys who can go? Because just speaking from the fantasy aspect, Landry, he's a 90 speed receiver. I don't know his route running off the top of my head, but when you're looking at receivers, potential sleeper picks, decent quarterbacks, a team with a good offensive lineman, how many people are going to say, hey, let me take this receiver, he's got 90 speed, so that in itself, that could make for some interesting draft picks, or even early in next season too, as far as free agents that start to trend as somebody worth picking up. So that's why I'll go with the Landry thing. And McLaurin, with Haskins throwing him the ball, look, McLaurin's always been a good receiver. I don't know if we expected him to be the number 2 receiver, just because with Haskins we've seen questionable performances from him in the past, so that'll be interesting. And when our tight ends coming up, we got Gesicki and Darren Waller. With the Raiders having a not so impressive season, this season, season 2, Darren Waller, I wouldn't say it was a surprise. I just wasn't sure if he would make it. Does that make sense? if they were going to be able to keep him as a threat.
Yeah, just if you look from the outside and don't really know the league and see the Raiders and how poor they've played all season, you wouldn't think that Darren Waller was on that list or would be on that list as one of the guys that are our top fantasy guys. But he's on the list. He's performing well, and it seems to be one of the only guys. Actually, I got Rondale Moore, and he's actually been pretty good for me. So I guess he does get his fantasy points for his guys. But like I said, if you look from the outside, you don't get how Darren Waller's performing well this season, but the Raiders team as a whole is not performing that well.
Yeah, true. I agree with that. Mike Gesicki, I don't think was much of a surprise. He had a good season 1, so with them adding Bateman, their receiver core that they're building there in Miami, I think the focus on the receivers allows for Gesicki to continue to be a threat. I don't know if that lasts all cycle. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying I don't know that it will. Season 3, Gesicki could go early if he's not. I don't know if he's on the roster right now, but he could go early, or he could be a free agent that somebody picks up week 5 in season 2. So we'll see how that goes. And then defense, who we got, guys?
Yes, and a disclaimer: all of these were done for week 12, so you may see a couple guys that had better week 13s or that have played, whereas other ones haven't, and maybe a little thrown off guard. So, these MVPs could change by the time week 17 hits, but these were as of week 12. Just want to throw that out there. But for defense, which I think, comes to nobody's surprise, the Patriots defense and the Ravens defense, both those defenses are top tier users. And the biggest thing about these defenses were they were the league's best scoring defenses, which of course is going to get you most points. The Patriots ended up having, I believe, 12 touchdowns on defense, and the Ravens came in with half of that with 6. And then you had a bunch of teams with 5 and 4, but I didn't factor in points against or anything like that. This was just mainly sacks, interceptions, forced or fumble recoveries, and touchdowns.
Makes sense.
So,
I wonder with the aging players if these two teams will still be two of the top defenses versus teams who have younger players. Not to jump on a bandwagon here, but the 49ers defense is a little younger. They could potentially become one of those guys season 2. The Giants, they were leading in interceptions, so I don't know what that says about their front 4, but it could make them to be a favorite to be, drafted, coming up here soon to be, a contender in season 2. So I wonder, with those particular teams who have some, veterans on their roster, will they remain as potential MVPs for season 2, or is it going to be a one and done show? As far as fantasy goes, just to be clear. Before the that's a good point. And that's another thing that I noticed. You had some teams that were really high, as the Giants were in interceptions. They were top 3, I believe, which gave them a lot of points for interceptions. But then when you looked at sacks, there was nothing there. Exactly.
And then they only had three touchdowns on defense. So, it didn't even make them. They weren't even top, I think, 10 overall when you combined everything. So, I think we heard Cunnicube put some emphasis on it. He's getting there, but then people are throwing out of the sack, which is then causing the interception. So I think in that regard, I'd rather have the interceptions, because at least you're getting the ball back for your offense. I'd rather lead interceptions than in sacks. So it's a give and take.
Yeah, definitely. Neff, what did you have for us? We just hit our MVPs.
So we could talk about some of the playoff matchups.
Yes.
This first week. So based on, I don't know if you have the standings up still, but based on the standings, the matchups are so. You got myself, Nefarious, up against FKNJP. Then you got Mally Rojo up against Burn. Then you got Fallen up against Papagreeny, and then you got Q versus Natural. So those are the matchups based on how the standings ended up rounding out. And like I said before, it's just going to be this week. You win your matchup this week, you move on. And if you win your matchup next week, you move on to a 2-week series against the other team that makes it. So that's how the playoffs are going to work out. Just a little example of how next week will work. Say Mally Rojo wins his matchup and I lose my matchup. That means Mally is going to face FKNJP because he is the lowest seed going into the next round. So he'll take the lowest seed available. If Fallen wins, he'll take the second lowest seed, and those will be the 2 matchups. So Fallen would play the winner of Q and Natural if he ends up winning. But if Papagreeny ends up winning, then if Q wins, he'll play Papagreeny. But if one of these 2 top teams, me or Mally Rojo, win, we're getting the lowest seed available.
That makes sense. Excuse me, guys. I had to clear my throat. No, that makes perfect sense there. I think we got to get a graphic together just for people. Just this like me. That made sense to me. I could follow it visually, but just kind of something for people to see, just to see where this is going. But looking at matchups, thinking about who's here, like how this is lining up with PML, we got some interesting matchups because it's a lot of teams that are fighting for playoff spots. That it's like 5 teams, I think, in one conference fighting for the wild card. So I think how that could make for some potentially low scoring fantasy games, because I think guys will be playing, I don't want to say playing smarter, but kind of taking less chances, which generally in fantasy does not equal as high scoring of a game, so
yes,
because you're seeing less picks. Usually you're seeing a lot more running, so I think if you got your lineup set to have that running back whatever, and if you in your flex spot, then it's I don't know, I expect more ball control and less explosive offense in some of these games. So even like with the contribution from defense, it might be a little bit lower because if you don't have the pick sixes and the INTs. So we'll see how that goes. We've kind of already seen more people running the ball more in PML anyway. So I think maybe lower score weeks. And again, I could be completely wrong. It may still be some unnecessary blowouts and some 200-point games in PML. I don't expect to see them, but in the playoffs, that's where we could be.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen in PML, that's for sure.
Very true. That's what makes PML PML.
Exactly. Like nobody would have guessed that Mally would beat Bandit and I would beat Fallen and stuff like that. Anything could happen, especially in this Madden.
Your last win was the Colts, but you just wanted to bring out Fallen. Okay.
I think beating Fallen is more of the upset than anything else.
Boy, just letting rounds off. I love it. Awesome. Well, I think that's our show, guys. We don't have any buys, obviously, because it's playoff time. I think we'll be right back tomorrow, right, with another episode, talk about round 1 of the playoffs.
We will.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we'll go into the matchups that have been happening currently. We're a little behind, so I didn't want to bring that up. We got to give us something to talk about when it comes to tomorrow. So we're not going to talk about that yet. We'll save that for tomorrow, and we'll take a look at who might be moving on to the next round.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Sounds great, man. Well, guys, as always, thanks for hanging out with us. This is your Red Zone, your PML Red Zone Fantasy Report. Special edition for the playoffs here in Fantasy League. And, guys, we are out.
You guys have a good night.
Boys.